Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're joining from. Welcome to another live session at the Reactors. My name is Ravneet and I'm the Program Manager at Reactor London. Before we get into the session, please take a moment to read our Code of Conduct. We're all here to learn, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, and please be kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Please note that this event is being recorded and will be available to view on our Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel in the next 48 hours. So today we are live with the 4th episode of Embrace ERG Skills Series. And with us, we have Mark, Maha, Sajid, and Emma, who will be leading the session. And with that, I'm now going to hand over to Rupa, who will give you a proper introduction of what Embrace is.
So, hi everyone, my name is Rupa Suresh. I'm a customer engineer at Microsoft. My role basically means that I give technical advice to customers, spend my time delivering assessments for them and generally trying to upskill them on Microsoft technologies. So I'm your host for this particular session today. And just to introduce you to exactly what the Embrace ERG is, we love our acronyms, but Embrace actually does not stand for a specific acronym of any kind. We moved away from using BAME to the Embrace because we wanted to embrace all cultures, all ethnicities, all races, all backgrounds as part of our employee resource group here. So that being said, tech sector is a very, very varied field. It touches and serves every field and every corner of the world. And it is one of those areas where we need to have representation from every single corner of the world present at the table. This, of course, is an area where we don't always manage to achieve. So this is one of the reasons, of course, why the Embrace ERG exists, to try and open all of these areas up, make sure that everyone does have truly equal opportunities in the field and in the area. Part of that is our skill series to basically help people to skill up in the different areas within the tech sector, because it's not just have a computer science degree and therefore become a software engineer. There's actually a really wide variety of roles that are available. And you've actually got a fantastic panel here today to introduce some of those potential roles that you could potentially have. And definitely what this particular session is really here for is to try and destigmatize a little bit, really, that, it's not just computer science degree equals job in tech. It is that there's a lot that comes into those technical skills. And actually, there are skills from other fields that can be brought into the tech sector that can be very, very valuable. In a lot of cases, the technical skills are a learned, set of skills. But this is definitely an area where I think we've got a lot of experience between our panelists and our speaker today. So what I'd really like to do is actually hand over to them. And if we can just start with introductions before we actually go into the speaker part of the event. What we'll do is have an agenda where we do our introductions to the speakers so you know who to expect, have a presentation by Mark, and then follow with the panel as well. So like I said, you've got some incredible people here. Please do ask questions while you've got, their attention and time to be able to ask. So, Mark, would you mind just starting off with an introduction?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everybody who's taken the time to come and join us this afternoon for me. I'm not too sure what the time zone is for you, so really appreciate that. My name is Mark. Most people at Microsoft know me as Mark O, or that guy Mark O, and I am from what we refer to as our partner team, and I am a cloud solution architect. I will hand over to my colleague to introduce herself.
Thanks, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maha Abdurrahman, and I am a compliance technical specialist. That basically means I'm part of the sales organization within Microsoft, working with our customers to help them solve their business problems by automating or using solutions to automate some of these problems and arrive at a more modern but also enhanced performance. And I will hand it over to Sajid.
Oh, Saj, you're on mute, sorry.
Yeah, the old classic. Thank you for that. My name is Saj Rafiq. I'm a modern workplace consultant. So my job is to help customers implement Office 365 and Microsoft 365, but also to give digital advice around the modern workplace. So that's me. I'm going to pass over to Emma.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma Neal. I've actually started a new job, so my title has changed, but I was a principal program manager until last week in the Teams engineering group, so the Teams product group. So I was the manager there, and I've just started a new role in what we call our fast track team, which is our onboarding, so where we onboard customers to the cloud, to the whole M365 cloud, and I'm a manager there of a practice.
Brilliant. Thank you all for your introductions. We will get to the panel where we'd love to hear more from all of you, of course. But what we would like to just start off with is just a section by Mark, just a session to go through exactly what it means to potentially be skilling up technically in the field. So Mark, I'd like to hand over to you.
Thank you. And if that's okay, Rupa, I'm just going to take control and just share my screen. I promise you, audience, I'm not going to take a PowerPoint slide. I appreciate the myths or rumors you may have heard of Microsoft's presentations. 3 slides, hopefully kind of land some of the messaging, and just as a bit of a visual aid for those of you who can see, who are able to see my screen or joining us live with visual, just to take a look. Screen. Rupa, can you give me a thumbs up? Awesome, thank you very much. As I said earlier on, my name is Marco Burrow, it's my formal name, but everyone shortens it to Marco due to there's a few Mark at Microsoft. And I am what I mentioned earlier, a cloud technical architect. What's really, I guess, stands out in that name will probably be part, which I'll come to a little bit later on. But I really wanted to use this first piece as a bit about me to introduce myself to yourselves, is my journey and why I'm super passionate about skilling. So as soon as Rupa and the Embrace team said to me, hey, can you talk about skilling? I wanted to jump all over this because it's something that I feel really changed my life. I feel like it's the de facto in some of the things we can do to change social mobility in terms of demographics and gender, all sorts of areas. The one common theme I find breaks all of them down areas is technology, but more importantly, the skills you can get in technology. So let's ignore the fact I went to university for now. I appreciate a lot of people say, well, that's not fair, Mark. You went to university and you did business IT, so you're already halfway there. That is true. That is the case. And that was the case for me. I'm not going to say how old I am here on this call. I'll let those who are joining the live guess. But at the time, that was the only way you could start to get in, which is why you'll see me get so enthusiastic with you now, because it's not like that anymore. The world has changed so much. At Microsoft now going to 8 years. And my experiences, the skills picked up, as you can see, hopefully on the right, touches every single area. There's so many more areas we do at Microsoft, and I'm sure other companies do. That's what we would class as technical. Great one on that particular example down the right-hand side is ProSci change management. So that's a skill, a training, a certification you can go and get that will help you train others on how to land change, be it technology change, be it organizational change. When you go through this training, they teach you how you can use this for personal change as well. So maybe somebody died in your life, or maybe you're moving job, how you can use these basic soft skills to really deploy and adjust and make change work. And that's not even a technical skill, but it's one of our most sought after skills at Microsoft, because these are the sort of things that people may or perhaps talk about skill and they think, oh, it has to be, or it has to be. Technical skills, technical skilling covers a wide range. So that ProSci one is a really great one for me. Reporting and intelligence, so those who are really great at numbers and looking at numbers, that is another great skill you can be picking up. Or I'm sure for a lot of you who are on the call, gamers. So those of you who understand gaming and you think, oh, how could I use gaming to get into Microsoft? Well, you understand your experience because you're a user. You understand pain when things don't work, because you probably hit our support desk when things go wrong. So when we talk about these skills and technical skillings, there are so many different routes out there just development. You'll see on there's some hardware pieces in terms of our surface devices. So if you're somebody that's into laptops or TVs, or there I mentioned it, virtual reality, and where you see HoloLens or augmented reality. And a lot of the things that perhaps weren't available when I was going to go to uni, it was literally, computer science, and you're looking at things around code and development. Changed so much more in this world that we're currently living in now. The 4 badges you see are probably my most favorite badges to death so far. So one in regards to accessibility is probably my strongest fave so far. And that's just a basic technical skill and internally for us, the one that I use in how to customers I work with, the partners I work with, is just around keeping accessibility front of mind. So again, not something you would say was necessarily a deep skill, that even Microsoft is seeing so much.
Mark, really sorry, just so sorry to pause you. You're cutting up a little bit. It might potentially be a networking issue. So do you mind just
no.
turn off your camera for a little while just to see if that helps? Just so that it comes through, at least the audio would come through clearly, just to see if that would help. Really sorry to interrupt.
No, please don't be sorry. We had a chat about this before that was going to keep it interactive. I'm hoping the audio is coming through a little bit better now.
Yes, it definitely sounds better to me. Hope that's the case.
That's a shame. I hope everybody doesn't mind then the non-video. I'll pop it back on for the panel piece, if that's okay, if that helps the audio flow. And again, it is interactive, so feel free to jump into the chat. But as I was mentioning, the accessibility badge, that one at the bottom, the 4th, is one of my closest to heart, because it gave me the opportunity to actually really understand this whole idea of technical skilling, and how it doesn't necessarily have to be in code. I could be somebody who really understands how accessibility works for people who may suffer some challenges in regard to dyslexia, or the kind of colors they see, or the way they work and learn. And as I progress slides, you'll see this particular hunger of mine has grown and continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. And that's just some of them, to give you an example of all of the certifications and trainings and technical skillings that I run after wherever I can, be it so I can teach others as a certified trainer, be it looking at how I could perhaps help people within change. And you would say, okay, Mark, I get it, training's good, but give us the so what. I personally, and I hope the team don't mind me sharing this, connect my skilling and my need to and my love to want to learn more with my growth and development. So the thing, don't mind me being candid, I'm sure they're used to me being candid, but when I went back in that slide and I showed you that view that I've almost been here 7+ years now, how I think it's because, I'm almost confident it's because of that love of learning, that willingness to want to learn, that willingness to want to go out there and try something new in different areas. And I'm going to break it down and give you a really tangible example with where I am now. So I am a cloud solution architect in our Power Platform part of solutions at Microsoft. This is what we refer to as our low-code platform. So this was purposely designed to give those who don't want to go down the development route, who perhaps don't have an appetite for development route, to come in and start building apps and solutions. And if you see the amount of momentum, this is Microsoft's biggest solution ever. It's grown the fastest ever. And people know why. It's because it's open to everybody. And my favorite example here will be at my own home continent, Africa, and country, Nigeria, where Microsoft gave out maybe, I don't want to put a number on it, but an amount of free training to support anybody in that region who wanted to learn Power Platform. And as you imagine, being a hungry area, wanting to learn, West Africa, wanting to get into technology, Nigeria, Lagos, at the time I last looked, was one of the biggest contributors to the Power Platform GitHub in terms of things, apps people are designing, apps people are sharing. And you could almost see the correlation was through the learning. where if you give people the opportunity to learn, they can really, really change their lives and some of the things that they're doing. I see this with some of our women in tech programs, where for Power Platform, a majority of our Power Platform makers, we call them, seem to be leaning from the women in tech arena. If you jump onto YouTube and you type in Power Platform how-to videos or how to build an app, you will see now the faces are changing. Those previous stereotypes are moving a lot more to a more diverse set of communities that are picking this up right now, which is going to probably be my punchline to this all, which is a really key point, where there is so much training being given away for so little. I don't want to say free, because I appreciate you have to contribute and commit your time, but there is so much training to help support anybody looking at this journey, anybody looking at how they could use this to be noticed. So when I talk to our high school graduates, our interns, our apprenticeships who want to be those looking for roles, they always say, what can I do to stand out at Microsoft in terms of the application process? Or what can I do to stand out at this particular IT provider? Or how can I compete with somebody who has experience? And I say, training and these certs, which is, if you're on LinkedIn, you'll see quite a few people are badge crazy like myself. These certs are a great way. You know, you've just left university, you've just come out of college, or you've just left school, and you want to show your willingness to learn, your ability to learn outside of the traditional academic system. This is a really great way to do it. And again, it's not the Microsoft of old, where we used to buy those massive green books that were maybe 300-400 pages odd, and you learned just from reading the books. This is hands-on, so you're getting to play with the software, which again, in terms of Power Platform, is not coding, is a low code, so drag and drop. I know I've got some colleagues from Azure and from Modern Workplace who will give you their own examples. And of course, for those who really want to get heavy into development or really want to be that level of skill technically, we will always have that place. It's how we're built. So Azure being a cornerstone or a pillar of that is always going to be there for those pro devs, as we call them. But for those trying to get in, for those returning to work, looking to change position, I worked with somebody who was an opera singer 2 months ago, and now they're a Power Platform maker at a big partner, which blew my mind. If you've ever heard of our Heathrow story, you'll see that was a gentleman also from our Embrace background who was a security guard at Heathrow who just wanted to make his life easier and thought, hey, maybe I can use this as an example to learn in my own time. I think to his credit, he did this in less than a month, and now he is one of the IT solution analysts in Heathrow. And I could spit these stories out over and over and over again, because I think it's the value Microsoft's trying to bring into the market in terms of learning, in terms of the skilling. We call ourselves learn-it-alls now, not know-it-alls, because we want to carry on learning. And I think it's why you'll see this push for more learning. The one piece then I wanted to give you, so I've given you the why and the so what. I wanted to give you a little bit now about the how. So how can you go and do this? Microsoft itself has some really, really great platforms. I will share a proper deck with the team that has some really great links and some videos. And the biggest one for us would be Microsoft Learn, because there's loads of free learning. And when you learn, if you use a signed in profile, it shows up on your badge. If you sign in, your Learn certification show up on your profile, which is perfect to show somebody you're going to apply for a job, an employer, or somebody you're trying to impress. And then LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is probably my favorite, because we have an app you can get on your mobile phone or your mobile device, and there's loads of opportunities where they'll run free courses or free campaigns from anything from Excel, just learning some really cool things in Excel, right down to core, I want to build an app in Azure and connect it to Modern Workplace. Outside of those two, there's loads of other ones that I will include, but those are my two biggest ones in terms of Microsoft's learning platforms. Social media is the hidden gem that I think is so undiscovered. TikTok, there is so many, I call them tech influencers. There's loads of Microsoft influencers on there, in brackets becoming Samantha is one I work with. She posts loads of stuff daily. She runs study lives with people, application. She will even help you understand where your skills are. There are so many to name. Again, I'll give you a great list of them. Tech Corner is another amazing lady who does some great work on TikTok and Instagram. And there's loads of Discord. groups popping up. So if you want not just this bite-sized 30 seconds way of learning, you want more of a group, a community where you can jump into a channel and maybe it's women in tech, or maybe it's early in careers. Those are some great areas. And they also lead into the other areas I wanted to talk about, which are great for learning. Mentoring groups, circles. I would consider this one of them, where you can jump on a live and hear from those in a position or who perhaps have gone through a journey that you're trying to go through, as a great way to learn, great way to pick up some tips. Again, you can search for loads of these on LinkedIn. If not, reach out to the Embrace team. We run events like this, and I'm sure they can plug you into some other events. I only had about 20 minutes, and I'm really keen to get my colleagues in, to get some questions going, to get some thoughts bubbling. Hopefully that initial presentation has got your enthusiasm, some thoughts going. I'd love to welcome the team back on, and hopefully Rupa open up for the panel.
Yeah, so firstly, thank you so much for covering so much in actually a very short period of time. Very well done for condensing as you did. The first question, I'll start off with questions. I've definitely got some prepared. Major thank you again, Mark, for going through all of this. Everyone else on the call, please do feel free to throw in questions into the chat. We do want to be as engaged with you as possible. So if you would like to raise a hand or actually come off of mute and ask the question as well, by all means, please do. Actually, because of that last slide that you were on, I think that one of the things that I found most difficult when I personally joined Microsoft was trying to catch up in technology. So I've actually only been in the tech sector for nearly 2 years. For everyone's background information, I joined as a graduate, so I really did not know anything. That's the best way to put it. It almost didn't matter that I'd done a computer science degree, if I'm honest. So that's kind of what it was like. It was a steep learning curve. But one of the things that I found definitely useful was, Mark, you shared a whole bunch of resources. One of my best friends in the last 2 years has been YouTube. So I definitely wanted to add that in as an extra resource, especially because it's really great. There's so many technical people out there that want to teach. So you've got plenty of resources available to you, definitely. So this is definitely an area where I wanted to reach out to the rest of the panelists. So Emma, Sajjan, Maha, do you guys have any specific resources that you have used that we could take note of, that the audience could also potentially make use of, because there are definitely a bunch of them out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, Mark, great presentation, and the passion comes across. And I'll say this to anyone, it's all about passion. If you don't have that, then you're not going to get anywhere. Okay. But the one that I use the most is podcasts. And the reason being is you can download those podcasts. So if you've got the journey into the office, that's half an hour that you can listen to somebody. But also, it's interesting, there's two sides to technology. The first side to technology is the techie bit. How do I take this component and put it into this component, and what does this button do? And that's great. But the other part of technology is the people side. Okay, implementing it, but we want to also deploy it, and we want to adopt that. And so when you say I want to go into technology, understand what those two sides are, and the world is changing. So the reason why I use podcasts is I listen to a lot of the stories. A lot of companies talk about their issues, what they're facing, and how they've overcome that. And so for me, yes, I use YouTube. Yes, I use sort of roadmaps and the learning materials, but podcasts and also individual blogs. So if you've got a passion about a individual subject, so I'm a modern workplace consultant, but one thing that I really specialize is compliance and governance. Okay, and that's a big thing. So there's a lady that I follow called Joanne Klein, who's really good in this area. And having her expertise of what she sees in the industry, actually, I did not know that happened. And one of the things I will say to you is people say, we're very lucky in the IT industry, especially Microsoft. We have got a time machine. Again, people always laugh, and I say the time machine is the world. And what you find is some countries are ahead of the curve and some countries are behind. And in the education space, that's never more true, because you'll look at Australia and you look at Norway and Scandinavia, and when it comes to distance learning, those guys are way ahead of something like the UK. So understanding what's happening in those regions is very helpful. So they're the resources I use. I'll pass it over to my colleagues.
Yeah, definitely awesome. Maha, if you wanted to go next.
Yeah, I would definitely second what Mark and Sajid said in terms of all the resources available online. So whether you go on LinkedIn, YouTube, and other learning resources, but as Sajid also said, there's a lot of material available out there from individual practitioners, right? And finding those practitioners who are really good at what they do helps you not just in terms of learning the technology, but learning the context of the technology. And I think that's something that's really important for anybody who's looking to move into a tech role to know and understand. Just because you don't know tech or just because you're not a developer doesn't mean you haven't got a lot of value to add. Bring in that experience of your work in whatever context, whatever field, because that has been for the longest time kind of the challenge between business and technology. Technical people are very good at technology. Business people are very good at business, but it's bridging that gap. So when you bring in that knowledge with you, you're helping bridge that gap. So find those individuals who've been on a similar journey, who have that contextual knowledge, and follow those blogs, follow those individuals, and understand kind of how they've managed to add value in their individual fields. I think that would be my guidance to anybody looking to change roles and looking to move into a new field, basically.
Yeah, that's definitely a really interesting point to raise, because I initially joined Microsoft being like, I'm not going to know the technology and can't help my customers. And in actual fact, what it usually is, oh, the customer has a people or business problem that they actually need help with, and the tech is just supporting it. So definitely really great to hear, that advice actually coming through. Very real. And then Emma, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
Well, I think I perhaps use a more traditional method actually sometimes. So I like to read, and I read a lot. So I will go online, I will search whatever topic I'm looking for, and I will find lots of different sources and just kind of amalgamate all that information from all those different sources. I'll then go away and talk to people who I know work with that technology. I will ask them to explain things to me. I will talk to them. And then sort of assimilate my knowledge that way through reading and then through confirming through others before doing. I quite like the research-based way of doing it. It works for me. It doesn't work for everyone. Other people are very, very practical. They need to build a lab. They need to physically do it to understand things. And some people can read. Some people need to listen to a podcast. It's also about understanding your own learning methods and what works for you, so that you can you can be successful. But I'd say if you're early in career or you're thinking of a career choice, I wouldn't worry too much about what you know, because ultimately in the tech sector it changes constantly. So what you know today is irrelevant in 18 months' time. So you're not really very far behind anybody anyway. So what matters is the transferable skills that you bring. What skills do you have? Are you a people person? And I think Mark touched on it really, really well and made the main point. It's that passion for learning. And if you love to learn and you love to develop, then you'll be fine in the tech sector, because it changes constantly. So you have to know that you are going to be an eternal student. When I interview people and I hire graduates, or apprentices or people later in career, I always discuss with them, I'm always questioning about their kind of passion for learning, because if they join, for example, Microsoft, I know that they need to be an eternal student. This is like being at university for the rest of your life. And if that's fun for you, you'll do really, really well. So it's not about the tech skills you bring. For me, it's about how you learn, because it will be irrelevant in 18 months' time anyway, what you know today.
Yeah, that's actually really reassuring for those of us who are in career.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Great point to make.
Yeah, and if you're also, if you want to move into a sector, pick a technology that's new, because nobody else knows about that. So you can be, when I first moved into tech, from a technical background, I had a psychology degree, and I had a job in tech. How I became an expert quite quickly was I picked an area within that nobody else knew because it was new. And so I was then the expert. So it's a quick way of finding a niche and then expanding.
Genius strategy, really. Definitely take that on board. So I'm just going to quickly put in a comment actually in the chat, just summarizing some of those answers in case anybody wants to, take notes. And then we've also got a question from Hanson that I wanted to ask. So how do you balance time learning certifications when working with customers or doing your day job, considering you're always learning on your job too? And this is a great question, because honestly, trying to, especially in the case that, someone is coming from a non-technical background, wants to move into the tech background, one of the things that I've been told a lot is show interest in it. How do you build, how do you balance all of these different items? How do you build on this to make sure that you are living a balanced life and not overdoing it? Because work-life balance, especially after, the pandemic, has been a highlight. It's definitely a major topic these days. So if we can start with Mark, just because I feel like you seem to maybe have an answer for it.
Yeah, and it's different for us at Microsoft. We are a learning culture. So I'll give you the Microsoft answer first, and I'll give you for those who live outside of Microsoft and are just trying to figure it out for how they may do it. Again, we're a learn it all culture, so we're encouraged to learn. So for us, we are given the amazing opportunity of speaking to our awesome managers and saying, can I use maybe an hour a week or half a day a week or a day a week or a whole week in some circumstances to train? In other examples, they are certain roles where, because of how much you need to learn, great point by Emma, because it's changed so quickly, they will take you out and give you the opportunity to go and do some learning to help you keep up. That is in our world. Outside of our world, I love what Sajid mentioned about how can I do it offline? How can I use the time that is there anyway? So for me, that's traveling. If I'm on the tube, offline learning. So yes, you might want to quickly check out Apple Music, but maybe on the way back or maybe on the way down in the morning when your brain's the freshest, as Sajid said, just open up a podcast you've downloaded, or as Maha mentioned, if you're lucky enough to own YouTube Premium through a student account or from your mate or whoever else, download it down and use that time that's wasted anyway. So for me, it was, well, it takes me an hour to get to work and an hour back. That's 2 hours. If I just use 45 minutes, maybe 2 days a week, that will help progress my learning. And as Emma said, increase your passion to do it. For those super keen learners, then it's having that discipline to say, is there something I can join that can help me do this? A learning course, an online series, an Embrace live event. Use those ways to pull you in, which is why I mentioned some of those tech influencers like Becoming Samantha, who help run these for you. Come and join me and let's study together, and they will teach you some of their great practices. I'll hand over to Sajid. I can see for me, he's off mute just in case if you have an answer. Sorry if I put you on the spot.
No, not at all. And thank you for that. Look, and Emma said this, look, we're all different. We all have different ways of learning, okay? And we all have different ways that we consume knowledge. And I'm going to leave that down to you what's there. I think what comes across, if you've got passion about it and you're excited about it, you will just naturally consume. Now, the way I did this 15 years ago was I didn't come from a tech background. I came from more of a sales background. But what I did was I came into the office an hour early. So 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock, that was my hour of learning. And that's the way I did that. But once you find that passion, once you start talking to other people about the technology, you're learning. And with Microsoft, it's slightly different because I still do this now where I'll say someone will be on a call with a customer and I said, can I shadow you? Okay, could I have half an hour shadow just to learn that? Because I'm one of those people that I do like to do things, okay, and I do like to listen to things, okay. The other thing I will say to you is actually, if you're doing Modern Workplace and you're doing Microsoft 365, create a trial tenant. Actually get on with that. And it's that, instead of playing that video game of Xbox, spend half an hour creating a SharePoint site or doing something like that. It's I think it's a lot more fun personally, but I've never been a gamer, so that's my thing. But that's the way I do this, and everyone's different. I'm not saying the way I do it is right. I'm just saying that's the way I've done things. I'll pass it over to my colleague.
Yeah, so I actually just wanted to add to that as well. For anyone who's not at Microsoft, please ask your employer. You would be surprised how many people are actually willing to give you some work experience and shadowing experience. It's the one thing that Microsoft introduced to me. And then when I started to talk to my friends outside of Microsoft about it, they were like, oh, maybe I could go and do this. And they found mentors. They actually managed to get work experience from, their colleagues, because the teams are already there. It's not necessarily that they're not there. It's just, if you don't ask, you don't get. And sometimes it's worth it. You might get a no, but it's better, to have the no rather than not having asked and then realizing actually you missed out on an opportunity as well. So just wanted to put that in there because Microsoft has slapped me across the face multiple times with many lessons, which is excellent. That's what I'm here for. But just to put that out there. And Maha and Emma, I just wanted to ask you guys if you wanted to add anything to that.
I think my only addition, I mean, great points by Sajid and Mark, but my only addition would be find an area you're passionate about, because that's the thing that will make you dedicate the time. At the end of the day, yes, it's about work and life balance, right? But it doesn't matter, what the subject is in terms of how much time you're spending. If it's something you're passionate about, you will find time to spend on it. And it might be today you're only reading a blog for 5 minutes, and it might be tomorrow you're spinning up a tenant and testing it out for a few hours. But it's about finding that one thing that actually makes you want to spend the time, and that will help you dedicate. And don't get me wrong, Mark, amazing list of certifications, but that doesn't have to be the goal, right? It's great to have those certifications because those prove to the outside world they are kind of your foot through the door to the outside world, but it's also about what you're learning and what experience you're gaining. So don't let just the certification be the goal. Actually learn the context, actually learn the business problem, learn the tech by doing it, and then go for that certification for that, just like as a proof point. And it might be good to start with a certification in terms of, hey, what is the area that I want to target and be interested in, and kind of narrow my search down in terms of what I want to learn. But it's find that one little thing that you're passionate about, whether it's a business problem, it's an idea to build something, create something, and have that be your starting point in terms of how am I going to learn and where am I going to learn it. That would be my recommendation.
Thanks, Maha. So I've got 2 suggestions that I've seen work really well. One is about the certification piece, and just because some people are quite goal orientated like myself, so if I have a certification to work towards, I'll do it, whereas otherwise I may just, float around a little bit and never get down to the nitty-gritty. So that can be a really good motivator. The other thing is think about your current role and what you do today and what you want to do. And as a manager, one of the things I often do with people is we sit down and we look at the skills or the skill that they want to build. And then we look at, and okay, maybe they'll have to do it in their own time or a project on the side. But very often, if you then look at your current business, and look at the current business problems you face, you can then look at ways of building that skills to address that. In which case, you're gaining the skills you want for the future, and you're also having a really positive impact in your current job and your current role, which gets recognised really well, and will also help then if there's another opportunity in another part of the business, perhaps in the sector that you want to work in, that you would get that. So I often find that you can solve current business problems while building the skills that you want to do, be that an IT project, be that an app, be that anything, soft skills. You can do that, and it can be really, really successful. It's often where you see people leapfrog into great roles or into the area that they want to develop into.
All such good gems, honestly. Thank you all. So I'm aware that we don't have that long left, so audience, if you have any questions, please do put them into the chat just while we give people some time to do so. One thing I did want to ask, because we've talked about learning new things, is for our panel, what is something new that you have learned recently? got to think about
Where
it.
do I start? I'm like, oh my God, I'm
guess
just
that's
going through all the things.
So in fact, I'll also think today I had a customer and it's about mail rerouting. Okay. And again, I'm not an Exchange expert, though Exchange is part of my field. So again, what I did is speak to a colleague, understand what the issue, how that worked. But also what I did was understand what the customer's needs were. Why were they rerouting? What was the issues being? And it actually ended up being a DLP issue, okay, data loss prevention issue. But what the idea is that talking to customers and understanding. So with technology, sometimes it's not always the technology bit that's the issue. It's usually the customer and understanding their needs, again, their wants, and understanding what's actually gone wrong here. Okay, you're trying to concentrate over here, but really this is the issue here. So what I learned today is ask that question, but my learned today was mail rerouting. There you go. That's what I did today.
For me, it was, I think, SharePoint syntax. I managed to actually spend some time and read about SharePoint syntax, which is basically using machine learning language to understand document models and surface up relevant information without you having to kind of go dig for it, etc. So that was one of the things that I've learned or spent more time on today.
Well, you and I definitely need to chat. I did that last week. So yeah, it was a very interesting subject.
Networking. Awesome to see it happening. Then Mark and Emma, how about you guys?
I guess it's back to the theme of it all. How much Microsoft respects the talent and skilling. There was a news article that spoke about Microsoft's investment in its talent, and it kind of just made me feel, okay, there is a reason we all go to learn and to skill. And actually, even at the highest part of our company, I'm hoping it's the same for wherever you are, they really do care about skilling. So seeing that communication made me kind of validate a lot of what I'm talking about today. Was something that I learned goes all the way to the very top. Emma.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I suppose for me, I've spent, just over 2 years in the product group, and joining that and teams, I didn't know that in depth, and I had to learn quite quickly a lot of things that I didn't know before. And then obviously starting my new role last week, I was expecting that probably I'd get the teams piece, and I got modern experience. So I am currently having to learn about Intune and Surface and Hubs and all the acronyms that come with that. So, everything changes, and it changes really quickly, and it's just always an opportunity to learn something new. So
yeah. I actually feel like that's been my learning in the last 2 weeks or so, is looking at things and being like, okay, the learning doesn't stop, but that's actually kind of cool. So yeah, no, and it's nice to actually hear that on all levels, because I think especially if for anyone early in career, for anyone who is looking to move jobs or move, field altogether to get into the tech sector, it's probably the scariest thing to make the jump and then sit there and feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything. If it makes you feel better, that kind of goes right the way up through experience wise, because like Emma said, knowledge is outdated within 18 months when you're in the tech sector anyway. So really, and actually one of my customers who's been in the tech sector for a good 20 to 25 years, I think, he said this, where he basically said, in terms of tech, it's not about you knowing the tech. It's about you knowing where you don't know what you need to know, because you need to go and research it, learn about it, then you can apply it. So yeah, it is definitely learn a tool, not know a tool. I know that that's Microsoft saying, but I think most technical people that you speak to would say that to you, regardless if they're Microsoft or not. But yeah, we are at time for this session today. I want to say the biggest thank you to everyone in this call, especially to the speakers. Thank you for being present. You have had absolute gems throughout this entire session. It's actually been really wonderful and encouraging for me as the host to hear some of this stuff, because you're just solidifying the foundations really. So everyone else on the call as well, I know we've actually got quite a few early in career from Microsoft on the call. So I hope this has been encouraging and reassuring for you guys, that you have definitely gotten some advice and tips to take away from it. I'll also say thank you to everyone in the team as well for putting everything together. So thank you all again. I wish you guys a lovely rest of evening. And again, thank you so much for your time and attention during this call.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rupa.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Rupa.
Thank you all. hopefully see you soon.